The rule of the wild is simple. Predators and prey cannot share a family. But what if a gentle giant, weighing over 400 pounds, decided to rewrite that rule with nothing but a heart as vast as the jungle? These are the stories of belief-changing connections we want to tell. If you also believe in boundless love, subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss this miracle. We set the scene at the Jabal Forest Sanctuary in Ghana, West Africa, a place dedicated to primate conservation, entirely unfamiliar with the natural habitat of big cats. Our protagonist is Kala, a magnificent 400-pound silverback western lowland gorilla. Kala is known for her quiet strength and extraordinary capacity for gentleness. The crisis began when three tiny, newborn lion cubs, Leo, Nala, and Razy, were found orphaned, their mother killed by poachers. They required constant warmth, milk, and protection. Dr. Elias Vance, the head behavioral scientist, faced an unprecedented and ethically risky choice. With no suitable foster animals available, he made a desperate, high-stakes decision to introduce the helpless cubs to Kala, who had recently lost her own infant. The tension was palpable in that first moment. The fear of the sanctuary staff, the silence engulfing the enclosure, and Kala's first touch. It was not a roar or a threat. It was a slow, careful extension of her massive hand, a touch that defied 10 million years of evolutionary divergence. Her first action was not an attack, but cradling the smallest cub. The impossible bond was sealed in that terrifying, tender moment. In the most critical relationships in life, words often fail. But Kala didn't need words to make a vow. She used her entire being. The core challenge was not hostility, but the fundamental difference in instinct and biology. The three lion cubs, Leo, Nala, and Razy, were instinctively born predators, requiring care entirely different from any offspring Kala had ever known. We need to understand this primal opposition clearly. Gorillas are herbivores, highly social, and protective of their ground territory. Lions, conversely, are apex carnivores, whose instinct drives them to hunt and roam. This difference made their bond inherently unstable, behaviorally and chemically. Dr. Vance established 3 protocols for cross-species care to observe Kala's maternal strategy. The first principle was temperature and touch. The cubs needed constant warmth. Kala used her massive, warm body as a living incubator. She had to learn to lie nearly completely still. The second was dietary compromise. Although staff bottle-fed the cubs, Kala's constant presence helped them calm down and thrive.
Just a little more.
She patiently sat while they fed, then groomed and cleaned their fur, a behavior gorillas rarely direct toward other species. The third was vigilance. Kala's powerful presence deterred other gorillas, and more importantly, it scared away real threats in the sanctuary. Dr. Vance's observation notes contain specific and moving anecdotes. Once, the 3 tiny lion cubs tried to play pounce on Kala's massive finger, an innocent predatory behavior. Kala's reaction was not to flinch or roar. It was a low, deep, reassuring rumble, after which she gently pulled them close. This interaction established an unbreakable, nonverbal contract. I will keep you safe, no matter what you are. The lion cubs, in turn, imprinted completely on their colossal mother, recognizing her specific deep rumble as the sound of family, a source of safety that transcended any species' instinct. 6 months passed, and Kala's body began showing signs of fatigue from lying still for so long to ensure her 3 babies stayed warm. But she never showed irritation. This unconditional love created a foundation of trust, yet everyone knew the real test would come when the lion cubs grew older. Their predatory instinct was growing with their bodies. As the lion cubs grew, the gap between gorilla and lion widened, pushing the boundaries of their silent vow to the brink. The true test of love is not in the beginning, but in the opposition. Tension escalated sharply as Leo, Nala, and Razy entered the challenging adolescent phase. They were no longer weak kittens. They were now the size of large dogs, and their carnivorous instincts began to assert themselves undeniably. We need to clearly illustrate the terrifying conflicts. Their playful antics began to simulate hunting behaviors. Gentle nips were now accompanied by pounces and taps with sharp, albeit retracted, claws that could easily tear Kala's skin. The sanctuary staff watched nervously as the lion cubs practiced stalking, sometimes locking eyes on Kala's legs or neck. A pure, instinctive predatory response. Dr. Vance and his team were obsessed with finding the breaking point. The moment nature would demand the lions see Kala as prey, or when Kala's innate self-preservation would demand she repel the dangerous, growing carnivores. We must highlight Dr. Vance's ethical dilemma. We were no longer merely observers. We were participants in a high-risk ethical experiment. We knew disaster could strike at any moment, but separating them felt like denying the miracle itself. Suddenly, all theories and anxieties were forced to confront a brutal reality. The staff began introducing raw meat to the cubs, a necessary step for their development. The smell and sight of the meat instantly triggered a territorial, aggressive response in Leo, the largest cub. Leo began to snarl gutturally and positioned himself between Kala and the food, a direct challenge to her presence, a frightening display of dominant instinct taking over. The entire sanctuary staff froze, holding their breath, waiting for the fierce, primal confrontation to erupt. Every scientific theory predicted that Kala would have to use force to re-establish order, or worse, flee to save her life. Leo's eyes had turned a cold amber, devoid of any recognition of his mother. The raw essence of the lion species had awakened. In that tense standoff between coiled muscle and primal instinct, Kala gave the world the only answer that mattered. Love is a deeper instinct than hunger. Leo, the adolescent lion, was snarling, muscles rigid, ready to challenge his foster mother. Everyone awaited the violent explosion predicted by nature's script. However, Kala's reaction was neither predictable violence nor flight. It was a simple, yet revolutionary act. Kala slowly turned her back to the meat, deliberately exposing her massive, vulnerable side to the enraged lion. This action completely negated the role of a potential prey. Then, she emitted a soft, specific, low call, a gorilla sound she only used with her 3 adopted children, and gently reached out to tap Leo on the head. Leo's snarl dissolved instantly. His entire body slumped down, not in submission, but in acknowledgement and reassurance. The large lion began gently licking the fur on Kala's arm. The other 2 cubs, Nala and Razi, immediately rushed to join the peaceful interaction, forming a mass of affectionate cuddling that defied explanation. This moment proved that Kala had successfully reprogrammed their predatory instinct. The lions remembered who had given them warmth and safety, overriding the immediate signals from their hunting genes. Dr. Vance summarized this research with 3 key lessons drawn from Kala's reaction. First was the power of silent presence. Kala's constant, non-threatening presence became the anchor defining their identity. Second was the elimination of fear. Kala never showed fear toward the cubs' aggressive behaviors, thus never triggering the prey drive aimed at a frightened prey. Third was the supremacy of nurture. The learned bond completely superseded their genetic programming, redefining the meaning of family. That was the moment the sanctuary staff knew for certain. The lions would forever see Kala not as a primate, but simply as a mother. They chose the stability and unconditional acceptance of their gorilla foster mother over the violent hierarchy of the predator world. Love had become the eternal law. The jungle's most volatile pairing became the world's greatest lesson. This bond between a gorilla and 3 lions is a powerful blueprint for unconditional acceptance in our own lives. Leo, Nala, and Razi are now magnificent, near-adult lions, healthy and proud. They have been carefully transitioned to a large, separate enclosure, yet one that remains close to the gorilla group, maintaining a safe connection. Kala and her 3 children still have controlled interactions. The most moving sight is how the enormous lions still defer to and respect their foster mother. They curl up beside her or patiently wait for her permission before engaging in play. Kala is older, perhaps a bit slower, but her motherhood remains fierce and tender. Dr. Vance shares the deep message. This story is not just about animals. It is a profound metaphor for human society. We often allow differences in culture, race, or belief, our own species' differences, to divide us. Kala, a gorilla, has shown us the gentle yet powerful solution. Look past the primal instinct. Choose connection over conflict. Embrace the need for safety and love in others. The gentle solution is always acceptance. Dr. Vance's final tribute. This story is no longer just about lions and a gorilla. It is about the staggering capacity of a living being to give love without conditions, proving that family is built on devotion, not DNA. The final scene is an emotionally resonant snapshot, showing Kala surrounded by her massive lion family. This is the moment where emotion peaks. Nala, the proudest lioness, still rests her head on Kala's leg. They didn't just survive, they thrived because of this love. The story of Kala is living proof that when we set aside fear and choose connection, we can create unimaginable and beautiful families and communities. The greatest strength lies not in size or instinct, but in the capacity to care for and accept others unconditionally. In a world demanding separation, dare to choose fierce love. If Kala's story redefined what family means to you, hit the like button, subscribe, and let us know in the comments. What impossible connection are you ready to embrace today?